Antigone is a film distributed in 2019, which draws upon many of the tragic elements of the play from 442 BC, which is of the same name. In order to go beyond the effects of the play and cement itself as an individually powerful piece of art, the film ties itself to modern dilemmas of social hierarchy, media gaslighting, and the loss of identity and innocence. The best way to understand the film's prioritization of identity in its characters is to analyze the film's lighting and how characters are lit differently throughout the story. Keeping themes of identity and loss of self in mind, let's take a look back at a scene of Antigone's modern tragedy. Right from the beginning of the film, viewers are introduced to nearly every element of Antigone, the protagonist. Within the second scene of the film, she shares her most intimate and personal story, telling her entire class that her parents were killed when she was young. To add to the tell-all that is the exposition of the protagonist, let's study the lighting used in this scene. Antigone's face is lit well, so that, despite the use of split lighting, her entire face is clearly exposed. No part of her is hidden from us. So much attention is brought to her by these filmmaking elements, right down to her wardrobe, which is the only clothing in the entire room that isn't cool in color, but instead is a vibrant red. The movie Zodiac does another good job of illustrating a protagonist as someone audiences should understand well. The protagonist, seated on the right side of this frame, is dressed in a brighter shade than his counterpart. The lights are also positioned behind him in the frame. All of this amounts to a character who doesn't have much hidden from us, emotionally or physically. This shot from Zodiac is useful in understanding that the lighting in Antigone should be seen as an extreme version of how to light a protagonist. In the case of Antigone, this blatant exposition of the protagonist, this confirmation that she has nothing to hide, is present throughout most of the film. A phone screen shows her reaction to messages, a bright window shows her worried reaction to stolen property, and she looks directly into the camera to ensure that we feel what she does. One scene in particular breaks this convention and redefines Antigone by restructuring the lighting setup. As Antigone is taken out of the police station and into a police vehicle, strobing red light makes her red jacket stand out far less than it did in the school scene we analyzed earlier. Despite it being a different jacket, the shade is consistent. Her face is overexposed by this red light, so that some of it loses its detail. Then, blue light bathes the frame, so that once again she doesn't stand out from the other characters. In the end of this shot, she is shrouded in the shadow within the police vehicle. So why have the filmmakers chosen this moment to take identity away from a character who was so bold and unique earlier in the film? It is because this moment is the first one in which the protagonist is unsure of her future. Before this, she was cunning and aggressive in planning a prison break, and in the scenes after this, she watches a movement grow. Before this scene, she was a strong student, and after this scene, she is cemented as a revolutionary. Here, in this very frame, she is between those two identities. This message, the sacrifice of identity, can best be elaborated on by the existential philosophy of Albert Camus, who defined rebellion as a person's decision to prioritize a cause over their own life. This frame from Antigone perfectly embodies this idea, because here, the protagonist is indistinguishable from the brother she's disguised as, thus losing herself in her cause. Other films from all over the world use shadow to add mystery to their characters in similar ways. Take this example from Fight Club, where the mysterious personality of the antagonist is embodied by split lighting. Another movie that uses split lighting to this effect is actually called Split, which uses harsh contrast in lighting to mimic the split personality of its antagonist. Antigone's change from low contrast lighting to having no light on the protagonist at all can be understood when movies like Split are taken into account. In keeping in mind that shadows on a subject's face are meant to add mystery to things, Antigone's police escort shot has its motivations revealed. Not only is Antigone's face finally getting some shadow added to it, but it has all of its light taken away entirely. This is the same result as Split and Fight Club achieved, in that the darkness is a symbol for the construction of a new character element which we as the audience have yet to relate to and identify with. Antigone is a movie which cleverly uses lighting to help viewers become close with the protagonist, to trust her well even by just the second scene of the movie. The movie's character development only becomes stronger when it flips this lighting setup on its head, switching from low contrast to high contrast lighting in order to help viewers understand that the protagonist is changing, rapidly evolving to her given situation. This clever lighting style and the moving screenplay amount to the study of a character who perfectly exemplifies true rebellion by sacrificing herself and leaving behind one identity in order to gain a stronger and more impactful one.